Okay, we are now recording. Awesome. Alrighty, so welcome to my video. I'm going to be doing I guess you could call it a playthrough of Odd Realm, which is a game that's, I believe it's still in early access. The creator originally uploaded it on itch.io, and then it just came to Steam in January of 2019, I believe. So it's a little pixelated style game. A lot of people say that it's similar to Dwarf Fortress. I don't know what that is. I haven't played it myself. Though I have seen some screenshots of it and it looks like it would be really difficult to get used to. So I think I'm just going to pass on that for now. So anyway, I decided that, with the creator's permission of course, that I wanted to make some videos showing off this game because I think it's really addicting and that it's a lot of fun. It can be kind of irritating at times if you lose, like, a settlement, because this is, like, a settlement building game, and if you, like, lose them to a whole bunch of bandits, or, like, there's some bugs that I might mention that are being worked out, like, if you spawn in on an island and there just so happens to be water touching, like, a cave system and there's enemies in it, they'll dig up through the ground and start attacking your people that just spawned, and usually that's a game over. But anyway, we're gonna hope that doesn't happen, and that we just have a lot of fun and, more importantly, progress in this video, because progress is always a good thing. So the Arden, the Gwydir, and the Tomek are other races that have not yet been released. They're in the works, so I've heard. The Arden appear to be like a kind of like a mage-based race, along with the Ancients. The Ancients also have that kind of, like, mage-esque, like, abilities to them. So, as far as I know, the Ancients are the only ones that can use, void-based things. I've gotten spellbooks on human settlements before, but I wasn't able to use them because it's like, humans do not have magic or something. I don't know. They just can't use it, and it's kind of unfortunate because I paid a lot of money for some spellbooks, but they're nice centerpieces, so you know, you could just drop them on top of something and they look nice. The Gwydir are like elves, I think, or that they're kind of based off of elves, and the Tomek are like underground creatures. The Tomek have a natural toughness of +5, which would be nice to have, but I'm kind of excited for these to come out, but in due time. I prefer to play on humans. I actually have not played Ancients yet, and I'm not really sure, because I've heard that there's a very different game style that you have to play with Ancients, because they don't reproduce. So, I prefer my human settlements that I can grow from like 5 people to like 100. Piquin. So, there's a random generator for the realm name, or like your save name, basically. Zengemond. I like that one. So, I also had a seed already in mind. 31,491. I found this nice little plot of land in this seed that I wanted to use in this video, so we'll do that, start it up, and ooh, I have never played a desert map, but it's kind of tempting to do so. So, you have in your UI the realm name, the region name. The realm name is your save name. The region name is just like the plot of land that you grab, just what its name is. So threat and neighbors, I'm not entirely sure what those both do. I think neighbors has to do with like other people attacking your settlement, and threat is like animals attacking or something. I'm not really sure. Or maybe it's like more like well, I would assume that a desert would be more difficult than a taiga. So anyways, what I do know is that if you have peaceful, you'll only get like 1 bandit to spawn at a time, maybe 2. And they're pretty easy to take out. And if you do ferocious, which is the highest level, it goes up to ferocious. There we go. There's some ferociouses. So if you do ferocious, then you get like batches of 16 bandits coming at you all at once, and they just wipe out your settlement, and it's just bad. Unless you're prepared for it, which it's kind of difficult to prepare, like, right off the bat, because sometimes they do spawn in right away, and it's rather unfortunate. I didn't notice that these were up here. That's cool. I've never seen Voidlands, sorry, this high up. So, also in here we have what year it is. I don't know if the year changes or not. I haven't been paying that close of attention to it. Also, I would mention with this map, peaceful, peaceful. This one I probably wouldn't get many, like, bandits or dangers or anything like that. The biome, you can kind of tell what biome you're gonna get by just by just looking at the plots of land. So the purple little plots of land, like these and this over here, those are voidlands, and voidlands can be, I think they can be either forest or like down here with the little tiny rocks, they're mountainous. I'm not sure if there's like a flat, oh, there is a flat voidlands. So I think at least for not desert, it can be like forest or mountainous. I've never tried to do the tundra before, which it would be really hard to do with humans because they eat food and things. So having a farm would be hard. So it does give a little description of the biome. So tundra mountains. This would be like Taiga Mountains. Yeah. This is... So if you grab a river one, it's not its own biome, but it does have the benefit of having a river run through it. And the rivers and oceans usually spawn infinite amounts of fish. Like, as long as you just don't overfish everything, and you don't kill them off all right away, then you should have an endless supply of fish. Let's see what else. So this is little trees, you know, forest, rocks, mountains. And you might notice that there are little colored objects on the map, little colored mountains. So those are settlements that already exist, the ones that the game have spawned in. And you can have human settlements, let's see, I think you can have human, Arden, ancients. I don't know if all of the races are implemented into settlements. Human. Or if it's just a select few of the races, but I think that's probably the case. Oh, Tomek, yeah. So I think it might actually be that all of the races have been implemented as settlements. More Tomek, humans, more humans. Yeah, more humans. Okay, so I haven't seen any Gwydir, which is unfortunate, because I was kind of curious about them. So, anyway. So, if you go and you settle in a pre-existing settlement, the people who are already living there will become very hostile toward you, and they'll try to kill you, obviously, because you're trying to take their land. I've only done it once with 2 warriors, and it was not a good plan. I didn't end up taking over anything, and unfortunately, it hasn't yet been implemented that you can, like, indoctrinate people. Like, you make them your prisoner and then eventually make them yours. So, as far as I know, the only, like, multi-species, settlements you can have are with the ancients, because I guess they have some kind of void creatures that they can use for things. Yeah, so that's a little overview of the map there. So, I could pick an island if I wanted to. So, tropical, as far as I know, tropical does not have winter, which winter is, well, I mean, I would assume the desert doesn't have winter, and I know the voidlands don't have winter either. But I've never had any kind of, I don't know, I've never made any progress on islands because things kill me right away. Apparently you can also get, yeah, pirates. And they usually the islands spawn with, like, hidden ruins underneath them. And that's usually what kills me, is that there are enemies down there, and then they dig up and they kill everything, and it's just bad. So, I'm probably not going to do an islands run or anything of the sort. Though it's quite tempting because, I mean, tropical. And you start with pineapple! And who doesn't like pineapple? Like, pineapple on pizza, that's kind of weird. But just pineapple! Ah, it's so good. I love pineapple. Anyways. So, I picked an area over here. I think it was... Oh, it's not that. I think it was this one. Yeah. I'm gonna settle this one. Alright, your next thing is that you can choose what group to start with, or you could choose custom and you start with 1,000 coins, which are called Ren. So Pioneers start with 100, Vanguards with 200, Hermits with 500. Pioneers, you get like 5 settlers. Yeah, you get 5 settlers. I believe the game always starts with... Oh, no, it doesn't always start with the same... Oh, maybe it does. Melons, carrots, and wheat. Yeah, it starts with the same loadout every time, I believe. So, your settlers, you get 5 people, water, food, wood, seeds, no animals. I don't think you start with animals in any of the preloaded ones. So, then you have 3 settlers. 2 of them are warriors, 1 of them is an archer. I don't believe they come with weapons. Well, no, they have a sword, a dagger, and a wooden bow. Not even a crossbow. They're best to start with, like, maybe untamed, or peaceful, untamed. I wouldn't go as far as settling in someone else's settlement, or with ferocious, because that would probably end rather quickly. Or at least for me, because I'm not not really that great at the game. I've seen some people attempt Hermit with just one person. Hermit, and they start with Laborer because Laborer is like the, not really jack of all trades, but they're like an unassigned trade thing. Basically, they're just people that carry things. So I've seen people do Desert, no Oasis, Ferocious, Hermit. And I don't think out of all of the times I've seen anyone attempt it, I don't think anybody's ever beaten it. I think I've seen a Desert with Oasis, Ferocious Hermit. I think somebody did beat that one, but I don't think anyone has beaten the no Oasis with humans. But I'm not 100% sure. Alright, so I do not want to start on Hermit. I am not crazy. Nor am I good at the game. Well, I'm decently good, but I'm not perfect. Oh, it would be so nice to start with... Wait, does that take away? Oh, it does. If I just start with no Ren. I cannot start with no Ren. Oh, that would be so nice to start with some animals. Like chickens, and a cow, and a sheep. I have no money, but that's okay. And maybe a cat. Well, I'd have to trade the sheep in for like a cat or something. But no, in all honesty, I'll do a custom loadout sometime later. I usually just choose Pioneer because it's pretty simple to start with. So I could name the settlement to something. The realm is Zangamond. The region is the Slow Badlands, so the settlement's name would be the Slow Badlands. And I think I'm just gonna leave it because I don't have anything creative in mind. Sometimes I come up with really cool names, and sometimes I just, like, pick at nothing. Alright, yes, I knew this was here, actually. So, we have Void Ruins, which is basically just sable. Sable chunks aren't really used to make anything except, I think, flooring, and the flooring's kind of pretty. I like black things, too, so... Black tiled floors look very nice to me. Anyways, so... Here we are. Our overhead map... Well, not map, but our... those are going to be problematic. Our world, I suppose you could call it. So, you start off with land, obviously. You can see the little fish, and until you catch the fish, it'll just say fish unknown. Anyways, so we have scrolling doesn't work like zooming in and out. Instead, scrolling changes layers. So as I scroll, it'll cut down through layers and they'll become dark like this if they're above me or like equal to the layer that I'm on. So it's a top-down layer game, which I think is really cool. I haven't played a game like this. I'm sure Dwarf Fortress probably is like this, but this is a first for me. So I guess first things first, I could go over the animals that have spawned here. So squeakin' are birds, and of course rats are rats. I'm not 100% sure what chirpin' are, but I've seen them mentioned places. I think they're just another kind of bird or something. I'm not 100% sure. You can tame animals in this game if you if you have a settler go over and like attack them. It's like in Ark Survival Evolved with the not a passive tame, but the other taming method, whatever it was called, where you go over and you beat the dinosaur to knock it out, a knockout taming. You beat the dinosaur to knock it out, and then you tame it by feeding it food. It's like that in this game, except without the knocking out or feeding it food. You just have to beat it, and it will eventually become, like, tame. Which, I mean, I don't know. I've seen games that do it like, oh, you have to feed it so much before it's friendly towards you, and this one's just like, nah, if you beat it over the head with a couple of times with a club, then it'll, you know, be your friend. Because that's how making friends works. So, there are, of course, all of these little flowers across the map, and those are good for harvesting. Well, not harvesting, sorry. So, cutting, which is different from harvesting because cutting doesn't show you what's mature and what isn't, versus harvesting, which does. But harvesting does not work on plants. So you can get plant fiber from those. These are void crystal nodes. I have no use of them, I don't think, as a human settlement. So I can just break them up and sell them. The little items like the little pieces of wood and the little rocks here, you can actually interact with those. You can break those down for wood and rocks. If you ever see anything like this, that's a vein. Which might happen to be copper, and down here there's some tin, and then over here there's sable. Sable isn't called a vein, but it's a special kind of rock, special kind of almost like an ore. You can't smelt it or anything, but it's cool to have. So, we have a nice little pond here that's connected at the edges to hopefully some more water, and it's not just doesn't end there. There's tin under there. Oh, settlers cannot swim, so if you try to go in water, you will drown, or they will drown. I don't know. Oh, that's iron. Oh, okay. So scrolling out goes up layers, so you begin to see more, and scrolling in goes down layers, so you see less. It's useful for, like, if you have an underground settlement, or, like, if you're trying to see different layers of a building or something along the lines of that so that you can see what's in there. Yeah, so I think I've been over all aspects of the map. Of course, you can chop down trees. You just have to click on the trunk. You don't even have to click on, like, the very bottom of the trunk. Just click on the tree. I don't know if that'll do it if you click on the leaves of the tree, but I do know that it does it if you click on the trunk. Morning coffee is great. And also, these are not flowers, these are mushrooms. They're one of the harvestable crops in Odd Realm. So, right off the bat, you are given, well, if you choose for having settlers, you are given raw food. If you do not choose settlers, then I'm sure you start out with some kind of food, but it would be easier to ration it because you don't have as many mouths to feed, which is going to be my first order of business, is creating a farm. So, to start with the UI, we have where you can toggle the toolbar of what you last had open and just close it. The jobs toolbar has where people that are assigned to professions, you can just tell them to do jobs without like singling out the person and telling them to do something. So like if I wanted to chop down a tree, oh, I should introduce you to my settlers. So here's my settlers, here's all 5 of them. They usually spawn right over the water, so it looks like they're sitting on like little like bean bags or something. So in the bottom left corner, you can see their settler information. It starts with next to the little icon of the person, the little one, what they're doing, then their health, then I believe evasion. Excuse me. And then I guess it would be kind of like their defense or like their armor. And then left and right hands, which my person doesn't have anything equipped, so the combat system is based off of like dice rolls. So the base damage that your settlers can do is 1d2 dice for each hand. And then over on the right side of that little box is how much food, how much water they have, or how hungry and thirsty they are, I should say. How much energy they have, which energy is a lot less of a problem for humans. I've heard for ancients, if they run out of energy, they die, so they have to like sleep in these special tombs or something like that. I'm not 100% sure because, again, I have not played ancients, but I intend to in the future. So energy, basically, if you run out of energy, your little person will drop to the ground on wherever they're standing, then just sleep, and then continue doing whatever it was that you told them to do once they're done sleeping. Doing work, like hitting an object, takes energy. And then down at the bottom, I think is happiness, or something like that. Oh, it's will. So, I don't think will has really been implemented that much, because settlers can be really unhappy and still, like, do things like normal. They don't go crazy or refuse to do things if they run out of will. But again, I've never had that happen. Hasn't really been that big of a concern for me. So, the last thing is to the right of their name, Harwick Durwick. Wow, what a great name. Your kids are not going to be made fun of at all. So, in this corner here, you can see what profession they have. So, he's a miner. Therefore, if I go into the Jobs tab, which the UI does take a little bit of getting used to, not because it's bad, but just because it's kind of different. It took me a long time to be able to remember where everything was. So if I go in the Jobs tab, which can also be used, I believe J also works to pull up the Jobs tab, and I click Mine, I'm just gonna have him do, like, you can click and drag to, like, grab an area. So I'm just gonna have him do this area. And it's nice because it'll show you where you told them to mine at. So, if I tell them to mine, this guy, I don't think he has anything. I don't know how well that's gonna go, but oh well. You're gonna mine with your bare hands. It'll be fine. So if I tell him to mine, he's gonna go up here and he's gonna dig that out. Now, mining doesn't have to be ore or rock specific, so this is like void stone. It can be dirt too. The only thing I don't think they do is like trees or building pieces, unless it's a dirt wall, which a dirt wall is a dirt block that you just construct. So yeah, so if I unpause this, you can pause and unpause by pressing the spacebar. Also, there's speeds over here, and it tells you what time it is, what day it is, and then what season. So it says it's springs, that there's 15 days in the season, so it's gonna turn to summer, I guess. Alright, so I've unpaused. We can see Harwick Durwick is heading up here to go mine this rock that I told him to mine with his bare hands. So he will not mine as fast as as fast as he possibly could, because he does not have like a pickaxe. If you give them the tools that help them, like with their jobs, you can hear him making that little click noise. I usually have this on 4 times speed, so it's really weird hearing it kind of slow. And there it goes. Alright, so I'm going to pause this again so that I can tell everybody else to do other things. So if you give them tools to help them with their jobs will go a lot faster. Like, if you give them a pickaxe, if you give them a stone pickaxe, they'll go faster than by hand. If you give them a bronze pickaxe, they'll go faster than stone. I believe iron is the next highest tier, and then steel is a higher tier above that, and then the highest tier is rutile. Or rudel, I guess. Either one. Rutile, rudel. Yeah, good enough. So, that's the highest tier. That one requires a forge. Stone does not require a forge. All the others do, though. Rutile ore is rather rare, or at least, me having not dug down really far under the ground, it seems rare. I know there's a lot of stuff I haven't seen, just simply because I have not, like, gone down underground very far. Yeah, so if I gave him a pickaxe, moral of the story, he would work faster. But he doesn't have a pickaxe, so he's just mining with his bare hands. Anyways, so our other people, Oya Thoswin. So we can see her stats. She looks slightly faster than Mr. Derwin over there. Win seems to be a very common last name for settlers, or like it's a common postfix for their names. So, oh yeah, if you just mouse over them, you can see the screen, but then if you take your mouse back off, it disappears. So if you click on them, it'll stay. So they're a carpenter, so they do building things. Now, there, as of yet, isn't really a distinction between carpenters, stonemasons, and blacksmiths. They all have the same permissions enabled. And a permission is what gives someone the ability to, say, build a wooden wall versus making an iron tool. The wooden wall would be considered carpentry, as would, I think dirt things fall under carpentry. A stone wall or stone tools fall under stonemasonry, and then anything to do with iron or smelting would fall under blacksmith. So, if you just select a profession on a person and you tell them to be a carpenter, they're going to have all three of those other permissions. So, woodworking, stonemasonry, and blacksmith. They'll have all of those enabled on start, so they can do any of those things. I guess the next thing to do would be to show you how professions work. So we have this down here on the right. We have, let's see, help, overworld, inventory, production, uniforms, settlers, and notifications. Notifications pop up here at the top. So if you notice something that you want to check on, you can go here and it'll pull up basically a log of what's been happening. And this one is the... Oh, I guess that was not the All tab. Oh, that was the All tab. Oh, you can turn it on and off. That's... Oh no, I think that's a bug. If I click All twice, it disappears. Okay. Well, there we go. Just found another bug. So, if you have the All tab open, it shows you everything. So, the way the game works is that everything is a... Well, as far as I know, everything is a dice roll. So, you do damage to the stone in order to, like, break it and then collect it. So you'll see Harwick, Hand, Voidstone for 3 damage, and then it'll show the damage remaining for the Voidstone. And it also has a timestamp over here, less than an hour ago. And if you mouse over it, you can see exactly how long, I think. Oh no, all of this is 12 hours, never mind. Oh no, that's what time. Okay, cool. So then you have combat, which technically mining doesn't count under combat, it counts under work. Blueprints, which would be these things. So a blueprint is when you place an item and they build a thing. They build whatever that item is. That's a blueprint. Entity, I haven't had anybody like have babies or grow up or anything like that. Those are the kinds of things that go in the entity tab. I believe people when they starve or when they're dehydrated or when they die, that shows up in entity also. The nature tab is if an animal spawns, like a herd of animals, if they spawn in, then it'll pop up under the nature tab. Work. So that's where I told Mr. Harwick to go knock out that void stone over there. The void stone with 50 health. That's where it would show up if they if they destroy anything. I'm pretty sure that's what shows up in here. Fishing is its own tab, which would obviously be if somebody does a fish, or catches a fish, I should say. And then event, there are random events that will happen throughout the course of the game, like bandits, or merchants, or kidnappers, I think is one of them. I haven't had that one for a really long time, so I don't remember. So those will show up, of course, up here in the little notifications area. And events will immediately pause the game and drag your screen over to where they are happening at. So that you don't like have it on 4x speed and you get a bunch of bandits that come in and it just goes, bandits. And then they come in and attack all your settlers and they're all dead and it's bad. So that doesn't happen. It will pause the game and show you where they are. Or at least, well, if it's like a group of 2 bandits, it shows you where they are. If it's a group of 16 bandits, usually they're broken up into different like mini groups and they start from different locations around the map. So it only shows you one group. And if it's a merchant, it will pause the game and take you over to the merchant and like talk to them. And you can choose whether to trade with them or to not. You can buy and sell things. But I'll get around more to that when I actually see a merchant here. Yeah, so I don't want to end this without having actually done anything, because it's been already a half an hour, but I'm going to keep going, so I have all the time in the world today. So, we have our notifications bar. And what I was getting at was professions. Yes, that's right. So, here we have, I'm going to unselect you. We have our entity screen, or our settler screen. So, there's the hotkey is L. Some of the hotkeys, be aware, are like control is a really overused hotkey. Control gets all the abuse. Everything is like selected to be control. So I set up my own so that I use some of the keys on the number pad. Because you move the world with WASD, so I can be moving the world and also use the numpad to like highlight settlers that I need. Because I know some people would be like, why would you use the numpad? You have a mouse. And it's like, yeah, because you don't scroll with the mouse. You don't like move around the world with the mouse. You move around with the WASD keys. So you can handle both at the same time, which is nice. Alright, so we have all our settlers in this settlers tab. We can see what professions they are. If we want to select them, you press this button. If you want to select multiple, you select multiple. It's as easy as that. You don't have to, well, you can click and drag, but if you don't want to click and drag, like if I wanted to select, if I had like 5 farmers and I wanted to select all of them, I could just go through here and select everyone with this. This button is obviously the go-to entity button, so if I were on the other side of the map, I'm not going to like do it or anything because that would take more time. So if I were on the other side of the map, I could press this button and it would snap me back over to where this villager is and it would focus on them. Okay, so we have their name, we have what species they are, their gender, so female and male, and how old they are in days. This doesn't go by years, because if it went by years, it would take a long time. So instead, it goes by days. Now, this also means that you can have like 160-year-olds within one play session if you just have it set on 4x speed, which is my favorite speed to play on, because it just makes things happen. We can see their health, their hunger, their will, their thirst, their evasion, toughness is what it's called. Their toughness and their energy. And also their tools. And their status, this would be if they were tired or hungry, / starving, or thirsty. That all shows up over here instead. Oh, and I think if they're bleeding. So like if they had just been in combat and they were bleeding, that would probably show up over there too. So under this settlers tab, we have another set of tabs, so we can filter them We can also sort them by profession, level, and name. Oh, I forgot to mention level. So as your people do the things that they're assigned under their profession, they gain levels and experience, which usually will up their health. I haven't seen it really impact any of the other attributes, other than they do things faster. They deal more like damage to whatever it is that they're doing. Like if they're a miner, they would mine faster. If they're a forester, or like a lumberjack, basically is what a forester is. If they're a forester, then they would cut down trees faster. I think they build faster if they are some kind of building profession. They plant seeds and harvest faster if they are a farmer, things like that. So I could sort it, filter by none. So this is a nice button for looking for whenever up here you will get a notification that, oh, so-and-so has not been assigned a profession. This is a really good place to go look and see who does not have a profession. Because if you filter by none, then you can see like the children or someone who just aged up, instead of having to sort through them in your list of all. If you have like 70 settlers, and you have most of them assigned to professions, and if you have them sorted by anything, because otherwise they'll all show up in a group if you have them sorted by profession. So they'd be like somewhere in like here or something like that, all of the people with no profession. So they would be easier to find like that. But if you sort them by anything else, it's easy to just go to the filter and then just look at the people who don't have professions. So, in here we have foresters, fishermen, warriors, archers, shepherds, carpenters, stonemasons, blacksmiths, miners, cooks. I don't have any mages, and I don't think I ever will because I'm playing on a human settlement. Farmers, leather workers, laborers, like I said, the only thing they can do is carry stuff. Thaumaturge. I don't have any of those. I won't have any summoners. I won't have any arcanists and tailors. And I believe I don't think there's anything else over there. So we have where you can view your settlers. I'll click on all. There we go, settlers. And then you have your tamed animals panel. None of these will apply to tamed animals. I mean, you can sort them by that, but none of them will show up. The only thing they'll show up under is either none or all. You can't have a sheep be a mage. I mean, no, you can't have a sheep be a mage. Sometimes there is a glitch that I found that you can have children have professions, but a sheep cannot be a mage. So, on the neutral tab, you will see anything that is currently spawned in on the map that is not immediately hostile towards your players. So, or I should say not your players, your settlers. So we have, it's all the same things that you would see for the settlers. The only thing is that the tools are different because obviously they have different weapons with which to use, so bite and claw. And the status. So if you see a carrot, it means it's tameable. And the carrot button here corresponds to the carrot button if you select a villager and tell them to go over and attack something so that you would be able to tame it. Yeah, so it shows their age and everything. So we've got rats, and I already said the squeakins are like birds. They're all neutral. None of them have very high health. It can be dangerous dealing with them with a villager who does not have any weapons or any defense, because I believe I have been killed by like a Vitrax. Vitrax are like, they look kind of like cows, just like really angry and kind of dangerous looking cows, and they make kind of like growl noises rather than moo noises. So yeah, so we have just rats and squeakin' for right now. And the hostile tab works the same way as the settlers tab does. So anyone that is immediately hostile towards your settlers will show up in the hostile tab, and you can like go to that entity or select them just like you can with settlers, and you can also filter them. So I've only been in one situation where any of these filters would have applied except for the warrior or the archer, because bandits are either warriors or archers, but almost all of them are always armed with maces. So yeah, so if you spawn in someone else's settlement, you might find other hostile entities that are any of these other things, but it's probably very unlikely that you will. Okay, so I think that covers all of the overview. So next we have our skill permissions. So skill permissions are where you can set what you want each villager to do individually. So if you need them to do things outside of what their profession already checks, you can set it in skill permissions. So if you have a forester, they're going to start with log, survival, forestry, cut, melee, and ranged. Oh, and carry and looting, which I haven't used. I've never used looting before. I think it's going to be like more of a dungeon chest-esque thing once that's more implemented than it already is. So yeah, so if you just check a profession, these are what everybody's going to start with each of their respective professions. So if I wanted my forester to also be able to cook, all I have to do is click this, and that skill is now enabled. And if I don't want my forester to be able to cut, like, cutting is for flowers, or if you need to, like, change the location of a crop and it's not done growing yet, which I don't recommend doing. Even if you do have to move it, you want to wait until it's done growing first, because food is very vital for a settlement, and they run out and starve, and it's not good. So, if you need to move plants, or if you just need to get rid of them, use cut. So if I didn't want my forester to be able to do this, all I have to do is click, and it would disable that ability. So I'm going to re-enable that because I want it, and I think I'm going to keep cook because I do want them to be able to cook. So my settlers, because they are not ancients and they're not Gwydir, I think, are the other race. No. Not Gwydir. Arden. Arden, I think, are the other race that's going to be able to use void work and evocation magic. But since I am humans, I cannot use those. I cannot use these. They're all grayed out, so I cannot click on them. Clicking on them does nothing. And it shows a little locked there. So, buzz. So, that would be a little overview of skill permissions. I would like for my... Actually, I do not want my farmer to also be able to tame animals, because that might not be a great idea. So we have the skill permissions tab, and then there's also the skill priorities tab. So I'm not 100% sure what this screen does. Because there's priorities that are already implemented into the game, like build priorities or mine priority, but I've never used skill priority before, so I don't know 100%. I would assume that it would be like, if they had to pick one thing or the other, they would sooner pick this than they would pick that. I would assume it's kind of like that. Yeah, so I don't know. Alright, so anyway, we can get off the settlers menu. I don't remember why did I grab this. Oh, it was probably because I wanted to show off. Yes, that's right. So I wanted to show off briefly how a carpenter will start with woodwork, stonework, and metalwork, and also deconstruct. And so will a stonemason, and if I had a blacksmith, they would also start with this. So if you want it to be more like more profession-based, you can deselect these. So like my carpenter, I want to only be able to do woodworking, because that's what a carpenter does. So I would deselect stonework and metalwork. See, my stonemason, I only want them to be able to work with stone. So I would just deselect the other two. Also, professions give bonuses to skills. So if you have a carpenter, they're going to get a bonus to woodwork, stonework, and metalwork, and deconstruct. Their melee, the melee and ranged, and looting and carry. I don't think anybody gets any bonuses from that, except maybe carry by a laborer. but I don't usually have laborers because, I mean, they're not useless, but I don't use them. Like, I have better uses for people than to just tell them, hey, all you're going to do for the rest of your life is carry stuff. Because that's what laborers do. So, if I wanted them to only be able to use woodwork, I would just have that selected. Likewise with stonework. So, that is what I want, because I kind of want my people to be able to multitask, and I want this to be more profession-based. So, I'm going to deselect that person and get out of this menu. So there are other tabs that I will probably use more in the game later, once I have an established community, like the uniforms tab, which I'm not going to go over right now because I don't really have a use for it. Everybody just has wool outfits, and that's it. The production tab isn't going to be useful to me until I build some rooms. I don't usually use the inventory tab. Sometimes I use it just to, like, if I have something that is deciding to be irritating and doesn't want to show up anywhere, I'll see if I actually do have it in the inventory tab, but it's not very common. And there's, like, you can track the number, you can tell it to track things. Like, I don't use that feature. Instead, I would prefer if there was, like, one of an item that I could, like, go to that thing, because I have, in one of my other games that I have, I removed all my saves from this folder so that it was just its own separate thing for whenever I record. In one of my other games, I have this stone, or this iron mace that is, like, hiding somewhere that nobody can ever seem to get to, and I don't know where it is. And it always, like, gets itself mixed in with the rest of the iron maces that everybody can use. So, like, I go to give them an iron mace, and it's like, oh, you can't do that. And I'm like, I don't know where it is. Why can I not get there? So, anyway. Getting out of inventory. Okay, so I'm going to actually start playing the game now, instead of just telling you what everything does. So, I'm going to need wood. So, logging, obviously, is going to grab a carpenter and tell them to go do something. I need to figure out where I'm going to place a settlement. I'm probably going to start with the highest point on the map, which would be right here. So it's much easier to like flatten the land going down than it is to flatten going up, because going up you have to have dirt, and going down just gives you the dirt. So I'm going to have them clear logs, little logs. Another little log here. There's some more. I know I already have wood, but I do want to get rid of some of these trees here too, so that when I start flattening, I won't have trees to deal with. So, I mean, you can see what layer things are on. This is the little icon for logging. So we can deconstruct. So I use these mostly on stone leaf bags. I use these on stone leaf bags a lot. When people die, they drop a bag that was their inventory, and I deconstruct it almost immediately, because if you have a lot of people dying, then they get, I don't know, they just take up space, and then to me it just doesn't look as nice. It's not that it, like, that you can't move them, or, well, I don't know if you can move them, or I don't think you would not be able to move them. Anyways, it's not that it's like, they can't go past this item. No, they can go through any item they want, but it just doesn't look as nice. So, I'm going to log this. I'm going to find a place to plant things, which I will explain that a little bit more later. I need to flatten somewhere else to have a farm. I also need to make sure there's not too many trees. I'm going to start a farm over here, because this is a nice open area. So, I have my my logger, or my forester, is going to go cut down those logs and stuff. And if I go to the plant tab, I can, usually if you have a lot of different seeds you can deal with, you can scroll through this, but I do not have lots of seeds. So I'm going to take and click on this, and you can plant just by clicking on the little grid blocks. And I'm going to plant some palm trees because I think they're pretty, and also if I don't plant them, rats will eat them. Rats eat your food, and they eat seeds. So That's all they're good for. Even after you tame them, they will continue eating your food, obviously. They're good for meat, though, if you have to, like... this is gonna sound morbid, but if you have to, like, survive a winter by starving off your animals, then when they die... You can't kill your animals, as far as I know, unless you, I guess, tell them to go into water or something, then they drown, but there's no point in that, because then you can't get to the body. Anyways... So, you can't kill your own animals or, like, butcher them for... Well, you... How do I explain this? You can't kill your animals and butcher them. But if they already are dead, like if they die in combat or they die of starvation or thirst, then you can butcher them. So you just can't kill them yourself. At least I don't think. I haven't been able to find a way to do that. So, that's what rats are good for. Rats are good for meat. That's it. Cats will go out and actively, well, I shouldn't say actively, but if rats spawn in the world, cats will go out, find them, and kill them, because rats eat your seeds. Cats don't have any other bonuses other than that. I mean, they eat your food, but they don't have any negatives. Yeah, I'm getting a little off track. So, plant the food. Plant the food. I like to do in rows of 2 or 3, and I'll just make it real simple. If you do happen to, like, highlight over plants that are already pre-existing, it will get rid of them, but you'll also get the materials from the plants. So it will consider this a dual job. It will cut the plant and then place the wheat on top of it. So then I get the plant fiber from it and also place the wheat. Alright, so I've used up all of my seeds. You don't have to use all the seeds in one go. I usually do right at the start because I don't want people to starve. Actually, the only thing I might do is I might hold off on the wheat so that they have something in between harvesting carrots and melons. Crops do have a different harvest time. So I think mushrooms, specifically boletus mushrooms, I think those are the fastest. Don't quote me on that, I might be wrong. But also, I'm going to have my farmer. If you click on the harvest tool, it will highlight any crops or, I suppose, yeah, just crops. And stone leaf mushrooms. Those are considered to be harvestable, so it'll highlight those too. So it'll highlight anything that is on your map that is able to be harvested. So I'm just gonna grab those little boletus mushrooms that are hanging out over there. And yeah, I think that's as much as I can do for right at this moment. So I'm going to unpause the game. I'm going to keep this in one-time speed just so you can see like what happens when you tell people to go do things instead of them just suddenly doing stuff. So my lovely little forester here is cutting things, and then you get these cute little stacks of wood that pop off of it. There's the rats. Actually, I should kill those. So I'm going to tell this person, if possible, to attack a rat, because I do not want rats. So the icon will change as you mouse over things. I grabbed the issue attack order icon, which is for some reason not working when I mouse over this rat, but whatever. So if you left click, it just unselects, I guess. It deselects things. But if you right... Oh, now you're... Okay, yeah. So if you right click on the ground, it'll tell your settler to go to that exact point. If you right click on an enemy, it'll tell them to attack. And if you right click on a creature, it'll tell them to tame it, which is why this little carrot pops up. But I want them to attack it because I do not want them to tame. So briefly there, you could see that it had like a little sword that popped up, which was the attack. No, my food! No, don't go up there, you idiot. Or don't go down there, you idiot. So I want them to attack before the rats eat all of my food. Okay, so this is what combat looks like. In one-time speed, it's rather slow. Did you kill it? No, you didn't kill it. Come on, kill it. We don't want that. Okay. Yes, animals can defend themselves, so your settlers will take damage when they attack an animal. Alright, I think that's... I'm going to check using the settlers panel, going to overview, and pressing on the neutral button. Yes, that was all of the rats that had spawned on the map, so now my food is safe. Also, I can compensate by pressing this butcher button, and you highlight the dead bodies, which show up as remains, and then my people will cut up the rat remains, and I will have rat meat. Except I don't know what gives people the butcher permission, because it's not in the permission. I think butchering might be under survival. So when my forester gets around to it, they'll butcher the rats. Whenever I take a drink of coffee, I have to make sure my headphones don't slip off my head. They're not the greatest headphones. They're pretty. That's basically the only reason I got them, was because they're pretty. But they are kind of they like go around my ears really well, so they kind of block out the sound. They're not really noise canceling. They're not like actual noise canceling, but they do a pretty good job of it. Alright, so we can see these are what are still selected to be mined. We click on log. There we go, that person. Oh, yay, they leveled up. Okay, so I'm gonna pause because this is now relevant. Alright, the character info panel. Oh, I should mention this also. Next to their, like, species icon, it'll tell you what they're doing. So before it used to be idle because they were just standing there doing nothing. Now I'm telling them to go cut something. I don't know what, I would guess prop is like the tree or something. Not sure. So, anyways, character info. Alrighty, so this is a very useful panel. I use it all the time. Mostly just this one. I don't really go into the behaviors, attributes, or perks tabs. Yeah, because this is the inventory for like the whole settlement, and you can filter it by these things. So, armor, and then weapons and tools, or all. And this is how you equip settlers with things. So if I had like if I had a pickaxe, it would be two-handed. So it would show up somewhere in here, and then I could click and I'd drag it into this slot, and it would fill up both slots. But you only have to drag it to one, and it snaps to the other two. So my my forester here does not have anything in their inventory, and they come pre-equipped with ordinary wool coats, ordinary wool pants, and ordinary wool boots. So these take away from evasion, but add +2 to toughness. So just recently, well, I shouldn't say just recently, but recently a patch came out that gave them the ordinary wool boots to start with. They used to originally only start with the shirt and the pants. I still have a save that just has people that have the shirt and pants, and that's it. Like, they haven't cycled through enough generations yet to get the boots. So it's nice that they have that little extra bit of protection for their feet, so they're not like so they're not like me and they're hitting their toes off of every single thing they walk past. I'm really great at doing that. I'm so coordinated, you know. Alright, so under the behaviors tab, we can check, or we can enable and disable what behaviors we want them to exhibit in some cases. So fire is a new thing to the game. The only way you can get fire is by, if you have a campfire and you have a chair right next to it that's made of wood, it will catch the chair on fire. Or if a lightning strike happens, the only thing with the lightning strike is that you, well, as of a couple patches ago, I'm also playing beta, the beta version of the game. I'm not playing the official early access version because I prefer the beta version. It gets new stuff faster. And I can also help find bugs. So, it used to be, at least at some point in time, I had a save that was completely broken because some lightning struck right at the corner, or right at the edge of a map, and it caused this infinite pond to spawn, which might not sound like a bad thing. You think infinite pond, and it's just like, oh, it's really deep. No, that's not quite what it was. The water filling in animation, when you dig a block and then water fills it in, it makes a little sploosh animation, and it also has a noise. Well, for some reason, that lightning strike caused this pond to spawn from the edge of the map, and it was doing that constantly at every single tile. And it took my game from, well, you can't see it because it's an overlay, but up in the top left corner, I have a frames counter, so I can see how many frames I'm getting in the game. This game's really good with my computer. Also, my computer's not perfect, but it's a pretty good computer. It's not your it's no longer your standard issue, go to the store, pick it up computer. I have modified it slightly. I added some space to it, fixed up well, I didn't fix the graphics card, but I added a graphics card because it was a dedicated graphics card, which for people that don't know what that is, it's not a big deal. But for people that do know what a dedicated graphics card or what a dedicated graphics card is, yeah, it was a dedicated graphics card, and I tried running games on it. It wasn't great. So, anyways, so I usually get 60 frames per second. Sorry, gotta go back to my story there. And this water spawning animation, because it was so prevalent, it dropped my frames down to like 4 or even just 1 if I tried playing on 4 times speed, and the game was completely unplayable on that save because it was so bad. Like, it just ate up so many frames. So, anyways, that was all based off of lightning, which creates fires. So impressionable, I don't really pay attention to that because, like I said, their will isn't really affected by anything. They don't go crazy, and they don't like become depressed if they're unhappy. Active metabolism, this just says they'll be hungry. Active dehydration, they will get thirsty. They will become hungry and thirsty over time. They will actively seek food and beverages, and they will seek to replenish their energy. So, like, if they're out of energy, they won't just stand around and do nothing. They will either look for a bed or for, like, flat ground to sleep on. Because, yes, they will just, like, fall over and just sleep where they're standing. Living creature, they will age. I don't think ancients age. I think that's a thing. Because ancients aren't really alive. They have immortality, but they're skeletons, so I don't think they have that living creature thing. Let's see, bedroom. Okay, so they want a bedroom to live in, and they're unhappy because they don't have a bedroom. So this just takes a -1 buff to their happiness. They want a bed for their room. They want a bed for their bedroom. So that's also a negative. They're lonely, which means that they're not married. They don't have a companion, which not all of these guys are going to have companions until we have some kids. So that also makes them a little unhappier. This one is toggleable. They can use self-defense, so they will attack hostiles if they have combat skills, which they all start with combat skills enabled, except children. Yeah, children don't have combat skills enabled. Workstation tasker. So this one is more for, we haven't really gone over workstations yet, or rooms even. So this will be more relevant later, but I guess the short of it is just that they'll be available to work in a room if you make a room. If you deselect this, then they'll never work in a room, even if you do make rooms that are empty. They will just continue, like, doing their thing. Block job worker will do jobs designated at blocks. Oh, so that's just... Oh, that's because you're a forester, so that means that you'll cut down logs. Yeah, I think that's what that means. You. Why do you have more things? Oh, you want a bedroom and a bed for your room, and they don't want a bed for their room. They don't care. They're like, nah, I'll sleep on the floor just as long as I have a roof over my head, I'm fine. It's like a college student. Anyways, so... I do want to get some gameplay in here, but it's been an hour now. I've been recording for an hour, and I'm not going to cut this down because I haven't, like, if I've needed to go do things, I just pause the recording, so I don't really have anything that it isn't content. So I might just cut it here after explaining and then post a gameplay video, like a legit gameplay video, here shortly where I might continue explaining things. Well, I will have to continue explaining things, but probably going to post this just to get it up and, I'll check it first and then post it. So, yeah, so this was an intro to Odd Realm. And, let's see, what am I planning on doing? I'm gonna have to make a settlement, cut down some stuff, mine some stuff, get plants, food. Probably make a room so that I have a workstation so I can make fish, or so I can make fish. Yes, because you make fish. So that I can make a fishing pole to get fish, because fish are food. But they're also friends. So yeah, that will be my plans for the next video, and I hope this has been helpful for anybody who might be a new player. If you need any, like, beginning tips or anything like that, or if you're just looking at the game and you want to know, yes, what will this entail if I get this game? What will be all the starting things that I need to know? So, thank you for watching. If you did watch, I will include a link to the game for, a link to this for itch.io and for Steam in the description below, and yeah, I hope you all have a great day.